realm of healthcare. And also, these meetings are recorded for the purpose of you being able to review them and maybe assign them to coworkers to review with the purpose of improving the health and safety at your organizations, because that's really what this is all about, improving health and safety of your organizations. My name and my authorization number federally in California is the same. I am authorized in both industries, general industry and construction. You call me and I go there and I help you out with your IIPPs, your injury and illness prevention programs, your safety programs, or to improve just a aspect that you may be wanting to improve. I just walked the floor on a organization a couple of weeks ago, and it was great. It was great because they were forced to downsize, and now they have so many issues thrown at them. But it is always awesome to see that although they were downsizing, they do not lose sight of safety and health. After all, your workers are your resource. They are the ones that will make the magic happen, that will allow us to continue to have job security, profits, etc. So it's a good circle. It's a win-win whenever we focus on health and safety. So my learning objectives today, because we always have to, every time we talk during this first Friday of the month talks, I issue at least 3 learning objectives. And it's a good idea to do this because in 1 hour, we are able to cover at least 3. And the first one is just talking about some of these statistics. What happens? People do die of stress. And a lot of that stress is related to work. And enumerating work-related stressors that may be taking a toll on you, your employees, your coworkers. And guess what? You cannot just leave it at work. If you're experiencing stress at work, you take it home with you. If you're experiencing stress at home, you take it work with you, because we're human beings. It's impossible to truly do what we used to say to our coworkers or subordinates before. Leave your home life at the door, and when you come into our organization, you focus on work. We are gratefully and thankfully going past that stage, and we are now talking more openly amongst employees and really being more proactive about mental health, because we know that it doesn't matter if you have a wonderful health coverage for your employees. It really is not as good as being proactive and preventing all of those health issues. So after we enumerate those work-related stresses and you go, oops, check, oops, check, we want to mention practical ways, not just for individuals, but for organizations to do something about this problem. And then providing a list of resources and discussing other possible solutions. So I'm passionate about this topic, especially now that my own personal stress took a extra jump with my mother's illness. It's been challenging. And then you have other health issues at home, and then the rest of the regular stresses that we all go through, right? So it becomes something that we really do need to take a hold of and research it, as we do with anything else that is worth knowing and applying knowledge to. Have you ever heard of that term, knowledge is power? And before I get into this, have you ever heard of that term of knowledge is power? So raise your hand if you have. And raise your hand if you believe it. Knowledge is power. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, all of you, for those of you who are raising your hands. Yeah, more and more. So you truly believe knowledge is power. How about acting upon that knowledge is power? And I really want you to take that in, because many times we read a lot, many times we have a lot of resources available to us, and we get all this knowledge, but then we don't act upon it. I am guilty of that. This morning, when I was taking my usual walk, because I believe that walks are one of the best things you can do for the health of your back. I've talked about this extensively, especially if you have me doing trainings for ergonomics at your facilities. You will see that one of the things that I recommend, even more than stretching, is walking. I was taking my walk. Even if I'm pressed for time, I don't let my walks be shorter than 20 minutes. And I am listening to an audiobook. It's 10 hours long, and I am halfway through. I remember reading it a long time ago, but I want you to read it if you can. And that's How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. And it's just, and he's the one that reminded me. It doesn't matter that you get all this knowledge. What matters really is if you're acting upon it. And I found myself, walking around and I see this woman coming and I'm listening to all of these things about, real practical, good things to do, how to deal with worry, how to break the worry habit. And I'm just so pumped, when you're listening to a good audiobook, you're so pumped, and I'm walking briskly. And then I see this woman with her dogs. And mind you, I love dogs, but I don't like it when the sidewalk is so little and whoever is walking their dog lets them just get in so that you trip over them or whatever, or you don't know the dogs. So I'm kind of getting a little worried that she's not going to reel them in, that she's going to let me move out of the way. And I'm all of a sudden getting worked up about this. And so as she gets closer to me and she's just telling me, oh, they're so cool, they don't bite, I'm letting my frustrations and my stress level go back into, but you're the one that needs to, get them closer to you because they have a leash. And right there and then I just started laughing because I am not acting upon my knowledge. Here is me reading all these books and making sure that I, lower my stress. And today I'm talking about lowering stress, but I am not applying action to the knowledge I have. So that's for you guys to laugh a little bit because I let that little instance get the better of me. And we do this thing. We do these things. We have the knowledge, but we don't put them into action. Anyways, what is stress? Because that's the topic today. So it's a natural response, right? It's a natural physiological and psychological response to perceived threat or demand. And this is good. Stress is good. We need some stress in our lives because it gets you moving. It gets you doing things. And it's actually needed because it could save your life, right? It could save your life, no doubt. You're on the road and everybody starts putting their brakes. And so there's a little bit of stress that kicks in, and the adrenaline and the physical and chemical changes in your body will allow you to trigger that fight or flight response, and you will apply the brakes and you will be ready to act and save the lives of those in your vehicle, including yours. So we do need stress. This is not something new that I am telling. But does it get to be problematic? Yes, it does, because it can become excessive, prolonged, or chronic. And that's where work stress or stress while at work in our organizations becomes an issue, becomes a hazard just as the ones that I talk about with you every single month or every single time I go to your places of employment. When we walk through your warehouse and I say, look at this, your workers have this nice hooks to hang all of their, PPE, safety glasses, raincoats, they put their boots there, but these other workers have them everywhere. They're laying on machinery and equipment and next to open top bottles and here and there. Good housekeeping is an issue. Let's put it in our report. It's a hazard. People can trip or fall. People could drink the wrong thing because open tops next to chemicals. We detect hazards and we tackle them because we are walking through our floors to detect hazards because it's required by law, Injury and Illness Prevention Program, Title 8 of California Code of Regulations 3203, right? Guess what? Stress is a hazard at work and it is worth mitigating. We're going to talk about why. So don't forget, chronic stress or excessive stress leads to symptoms. That's why we have a lot of heart problems, hypertension, obesity, organ failure, you name it, headaches, irritability. And if you've seen these symptoms in a lot of your coworkers, it's worth talking about this. OSHA, in their main stress-related page, has this particular phrase that I really like, because to reduce stress, we need to take a look at it from a comprehensive approach, because we're individuals that go to work and also have a home life, right? So we must address stressors throughout the community. And our community includes our organizations, our own employers. So today I want to bring stress as a hazard, just like all of those that we talk about, that is worth mitigating. And then how can you in your organization do something about it? And how can you as an individual do something about it? Okay, so employers, we can be part of the solution. We should be part of the solution. Why? Because work is also part of what a human being experiences in their 24-hour cycle of life. I didn't know there was something called the American Institute of Stress. Did you? Did you? I didn't, till I started doing more research about this whole stress issue. And I really thought, my goodness, Alba, you're so late in talking about this topic. It is a hazard worth mitigating, because look at the statistics, 83%, according to the American Institute of Stress. And they take the numbers from a poll, it has a specific name, Gallup, oh, I forgot, but we can go to their site and find out exactly how they get their numbers. But they do get a lot of information that they gather up, not just for the Americans, but also when they try a really deep digger to find out more and dig a little bit deeper. Did you see how I switched my letters there? They get input for a specific from a specific tool that takes data from more than 160 countries. So a lot of the data is also corroborated internationally. And here in America, 83% of US workers that were surveyed, it says, suffer from work-related stress. 83%, that's a high number. US businesses lose up to 300 billion yearly as a result of workplace stress. And let me stop right there. Think about it. If you were asked the question, do you feel stressed at work or because of work? Would you say yes or no? If you say yes, you would be part of that 83%. And then if you are in human resources, or if you are a manager, a supervisor in your organization, think about this. How many of your workers are not showing up to work today and you do not know why? You saw them healthy, apparently healthy yesterday, and all of a sudden today, they couldn't go to work because of some unknown reason. So a lot of absenteeism is caused because of stress at work. 300 billion yearly is what businesses are losing because of work-related stress. The next one says stress causes around 1 million workers to miss work every day. Today, 1 million workers in the United States are not going to work because of stress. That's a lot of people. And that's costing your company, your organization, money. So it is worth mitigating it. Only 43% of US employees think their employers care about their work-life balance. This is an interesting statistic, because that means, you know, I'm an individual. I'm a whole human being here with life at home life and a work life. How is it that my employer helps me create this balance between work life and home life? Only 43% of US employees think that their organizations care about this issue. Next, depression leads to 51 billion in costs due to absenteeism and 26 billion in treatment costs. That's a huge number. But, you know, I can get you guys started and raising your hands and just pulling your hair when we talk about our healthcare system and how it is geared towards treating and treating symptoms and not getting to the cause of diseases, and also how we're not geared to being more proactive about preventing disease, right? Always follow the money trail anyways. But these are big numbers, 51 billion costs due to absenteeism. And I am telling you today, some people at your facility, employees at your company, did not go to work because of stress-related situations. And last but not least, work-related stress causes 120,000 deaths and results in 190 billion in healthcare costs yearly. This is an enormous amount of money. It is affecting you. It is affecting your employees. It is affecting your organization, your economy, your ability to produce, your productivity, right? More than 85% of employees surveyed in 2021 by the American Psychological Association reported that actions from their employer would help their mental health. So these are surveys where do you feel stressed at work? Yes, I do. Do you think that if your employer helped you, it would be better? Yes, I really do. So what does this mean? This is a cry for help from the American workforce saying, you know what? Lately, we've been more open to talking about the mind-body connection. Why don't we apply it so that it spills into everything we do, our work life, our home life, etc. In fact, the World Health Organization estimates that for every dollar US employers spend treating common mental health issues, they receive a return of $4 in improved health and productivity. So that's a good number. So just kind of summarizing, yes, stress will affect us negatively. It will affect our job performance. We will not be as good as we were if we're stressed. We simply don't produce the same. Our productivity is also negatively impacted because when we're stressed, we're fatigued, we don't communicate the same. Everything is kind of blurry. We're more irritable. We don't have the same, or our skills are actually, lowered or dimmed. We can't really engage with coworkers and communicate effectively. And our physical capability and daily function is also diminished because it affects us psychologically and physiologically. And this is according to who? The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention from a July 2018 study, Mental Health in the Workplace. And you get these links when you get this presentation. I'm not going to send you the PDF this time. I'm just going to send you the presentation so you can click on those links that I've embedded into this presentation. Work-related. Okay, so this is good. You guys pay attention and start checking. Yep, I have this one. Yes, I experienced this one. Or if you are in human resources and your workforce is growing or diminishing according to whatever is going on in your particular situation, please circle whatever applies to you. Number one, your employees have concerns about job security, layoffs, reductions in assigned hours, especially if you're seeing this huge workforce now going into this tiny workforce. So circle that one. That creates stress at the workplace. Next, lack of access to the tools and equipment needed to perform work safely. Well, I don't know. If you don't know this, oh my gosh, it's red flags coming up. What? Because you are a supervisor. You are a owner, businessman, CEO, CFO, leader, lead man, supervisor, manager. You need to know whether or not your employees have the tools and equipment needed to do their job safely, right? And if we don't do walkthroughs as required by law, you should have a way to have people bring these concerns to you. If you don't have that either, at least you should do problem-solving techniques, or even through incident investigation, if you've learned, the 5 whys approach, or on how to solve problems, or even for incident investigation, we learned the Ishikawa diagram, where we ask why certain things are happening till we get to root causes, right? That many times spews out lack of tools or better technology. And once you get that information, guess what? You have associated stress because of the lack of tools or equipment. Next, and so you should be circling that one if you do know the answer. If you don't, put there a little red mark or highlight it with a yellow highlighter, because that means you do not have enough information. That means you're not doing your walkthroughs, or you're not getting input from workers about the tools and equipment to do their jobs. Next, fear of employer retaliation. So is everyone, if in an entire year you did not get any concerns brought to the table, the culture for safety there is not the best that I've seen. Why? Because in 12 months, when you meet, when you do safety meetings, when you do safety trainings, when you encourage the use of a anonymous suggestion box, or in open door policy, where you tell them you can come in and talk to me anytime, or you can talk to your supervisor, lead person, and you haven't gotten any concerns brought to the table, that gives you a red flag as to maybe there is fear for retaliation, fear of stigma, fear of being looked badly upon. So that one, make sure that you circle if that's you. Next, confrontation with customers, patients, coworkers, supervisors, or employers. A lot of our workers and employees deal with the public. We do not have a way of measuring the type of stress they do have because of this. So we should devise, and by the way, I do have some great resources today where you will be able to assess how employees perceive mental health at the workplace. So if they are dealing, especially with specific settings such as skilled nurse facilities, emergency services, acute care hospitals, psychiatric hospitals. And you know, I'm getting close to the 3242 Code of Regulations in California that talks about workplace violence in these specific settings, where the law now requires that you do put a plan in writing to get a hold of any issues that have to do with violence from patients, coworkers, employers, customers, etc., because it's higher statistically in these types of settings. And one of the issues there is also how to deal with violent behavior. And it requires that you actually train people and you have actual techniques to deal with somebody that becomes violent. So, hey, that's number 4. It brings stress to the workplace. People are afraid, right? Next, and if you're not in any of those settings, ask yourself if you've had any issues where there has been violent or stressful situations, maybe not physical violence, but threats, verbal threats, and actual specific instances where you can recall that there were confrontations with customers, patients, or coworkers, supervisors. The coworkers one statistically is higher than that of employee to customer. So if you didn't know that, co-worker confrontations are even more common. So if you've had that recently, that's stress at the workplace that was experienced by employees, but also because people around those who suffered the actual incident know about it, that also brings stress to those who knew about it, even though they were not directly involved. 5, new workspace, new schedules, or new work rules. All of that brings stress to the workplace. New tasks, new or more responsibilities. Sometimes because we're reducing the work force, we assign more responsibilities to a crew, a team, and many times one person ends up with more tasks, more responsibilities. Check that one or circle that one if that's the case for some of the workers in your crews. Extended shifts or being unable to take adequate breaks. This is an important one because shifts, the amount of shifts that you have, and especially if you have graveyard shifts, bring the issue of more. Our bodies are designed to rest at night. This is something that dwells in the realm of chronobiology. The father of chronobiology, Mr. Franz Halberg, talks about the circadian rhythms. And because we are designed to slow down and sleep at night, if you have night shifts, graveyard shifts, there is a lot of value if you can look into eliminating those work shifts. If you cannot, because we know that a lot of processes, manufacturing processes, and any of those operations having to do with public safety, emergency services, etc., do require those graveyard shifts, etc. How can we approach those shifts and help those workers have safer and healthier jobs during those hours? I do have a good resource for that as well. Okay, next, physically demanding work. And how do I know? I mean, everybody would know my job is physically demanding. Well, this has to do with loads, how heavy, for how long, how many times a day. It also has to do with maybe not just how heavy, but it also has to do with how much activity, maybe routes that are assigned to this crew that at certain part of the year just go a little higher. Maybe during the summer, they do more deliveries. So now the physical demands of their work went up compared to the first quarter of the year. All of these things bring that stress up to your employees. Next, learning new communication tools. Sometimes you're telling them, we're going to bring everything online, no more paper. And that brings this learning curve that stresses out some people more than others. Next, dealing with technical difficulties. Oh my gosh, that stresses me out all the time because I'm not very IT oriented. And so I need the support and I need the help anytime I deal with technical difficulties. So having the support, are we asking people to, deal with better technology, and are we giving them the support they need? Blurring of work-life boundaries, and it's hard to disconnect from the office. So that happens often where salaried employees do blur those lines because they have to produce, they have to deliver. And there is this, I'm not going home right now at 6. I can't have dinner with you guys because I need to be here, right? So if we as organizations encourage that, that's bringing a lot of stress to the workspace and increasing the likelihood for illness and disease in those individuals who are encouraged to blur those lines. Next, work while simultaneously caring for children, old or the elderly, including over. I'm laughing, guys, because you see yourself just in your home office, and I had this question not too long ago because it happens. You are in your home office or your home space, and then your kid walks in and he's like, can we play swords? And I'm like, I can't play swords. And then I find myself just whacking him with the sword away from my office. So those are stressors that we are also having to think about now that a lot of us send workers to do work from home. I had this question from an organization last week that said, but how do I control that? I don't know what they do at their home, and I am not gonna, have any input from them as to, how many dogs and how many cats, and if they're gonna trip over the dog or the cat or the kids. But you could do a specific approval type of process to approve that workspace where you could do a Zoom or even in-person visit to that home space and you guys that know the legalities according to your state and human resources and the Fair Housing Commission, you can make good decisions as to how far we can do these check marks. But it is important for organizations to approve that home space for people that are now working almost all the time from home. Concerns about work performance and productivity. So people worry about that. Concerns about commuting options. People worry about that too. Do we have a way to get those concerns brought to the table in a secure way? And when I say that, I mean more of a safe space to actually deal with promoting and coming up with solutions. So now that we've been through 2 slides of work stressors and you went ahead and did check, you can work on, okay, what can I do as an organization? Because this is a hazard worth mitigating, is going to save my organization, $4 for every one I spend on doing this, because it takes time. You being here for an hour today, talking about stress, that's money. You're being paid to learn how to increase the safety and health in your organization so that the culture of safety also translates into a more productive workforce. So you check. Yes, this is a stressor at my organization. This one too, this one. Or you could even go by crews or departments and go through these work-related stressors and what the list of work-related stressors that you will have for administration employees will be different than those of warehousing, right? So do that separate analysis. And now what can we do as an organization? And then what can we do as individuals? Okay. Benefits. There's so many benefits of reducing stress at work. The first one, of course, is increased morale, because when we have less episodes, so if let's say you do have a psychiatric hospital, that's your type of workplace, and you have 5 incidents where there's violent incidents from patients that day, and if you can get them reduced to 3, wouldn't that increase the morale? Wouldn't people all of a sudden think, hey, it's getting nicer here? I mean, it's not like it was before, kind of thing, right? People talk. It's a feeling, right? Increased focus and productivity. Now, there's less violent incidents. Now I can focus more on what I'm doing. I can do my rounds. I can visit my patients. I can do their medications. I can actually not make mistakes. Fewer workplace injuries because I can focus better. I am more productive. I make less mistakes. Fewer sick days. Okay, then I don't feel like missing work. I'm actually pumped about going to work and seeing my buddies and working next to them instead of feel like I want to choke the life out of them. Improve physical health, lower blood pressure, stronger immune. Blood pressure. How many of us in this call deal with hypertension? They call it the silent killer. And according to the Centers for Disease Control and many of the experts, 95% of the actual people that are suffering from hypertension is related to stress. So 95% directly related to stress, high blood pressure. And last one is reduce turnover among employers' workforce, right? Because I feel happy coming to your workplace. I want to stay working for you. I will make sure that I do a great job because you allow me to have a nice workspace to be at. Okay, so lots of benefits. Let's bring them to the table. Let's see how much this is costing us. And I would encourage you to really look at your history, your own history of absenteeism, and how many of those missing from work days are related to true injuries, not true injuries, I should say physical injuries, the ones that, you saw, there's a cut, whatever, versus stress related, which are also true injuries and illnesses. Why? Because it's that we are not being proactive. And what can we do now? Organizations, let's make a list of the good things that we can do to tackle stress in a proactive way. Number one, offer flexible work arrangements, especially today, coming right off of a pandemic. We are now more of a mindset to say, okay, let's work around this. Do you really have to commute and come to this office? Can we change it to do this or that? Also, take a look at your work shifts. Find out how many workers need to be during that graveyard shift, because that's the one that I'm most worried about, because chronobiologically, our bodies are not designed to work at night. Can we do it? Yes. Can we do it safely? Yes. But there's more than we can do for those that are working those shifts. So that's number one. And I will give you the resources, because you got to do homework. Anything that is worthwhile achieving, it also takes longer, and it takes more discipline and more research and more work, no doubt. 2, provide resources for stress management, assistance programs, counseling services, or stress management workshops. Okay, so I got at the top of my head 3 clients of mine, and oh man, kudos to you guys that offer on-site services, counseling services. So one of the companies I work for has a service where a chaplain comes and regularly checks on employees and asks the right what they are already trained to ask questions that will prompt that conversation. How are you doing? How are you truly doing? Are you, regularly having these conversations with your support group, your family, your friends? How are you feeling at work? Are you stressed? What's happening with these health issues? And they kind of keep tabs, and they know their people. And they do have a program where people know where to go. So many times they don't, employees, me, myself, the fear of mixing my personal life with work life is so great that I don't want to talk to anyone at work about my personal life, right? That happens. But we are human beings, and organizations that recognize that, and that there is a need for people to talk and get these things communicated and get solutions and be proactive about, do much better than those that do not. So these services through a church or services through a organization that comes and does these types of talks often enough will help you improve morale, productivity, focus, and overall your employees will show gratitude, and they'll feel more happy because they know there's an assistance program on site. So take a look at this. Really ask me more about this if you want, and I can send you some names for you guys to really get some budgeting. Remember, we all get a budget for safety in our organizations. This is where it's at, because when we have less stress overall, we're more productive. Number 3, encourage breaks and time off. So remember that the actual meal break is mandated. They have to clock out. But those in between breaks every 2 hours, they don't need to clock out, but they do need to be encouraged to take them. So encourage people, make sure that if you see someone walking around and stretching, or they're just walking, because that's what I encourage a lot of the times. Make sure that one of the things that I was doing for a company is I was talking to employees about their stretching program, and we correct some of the moves that they were doing that are not helpful for their spine. And then we were talking about, but don't just get to the plant, manufacturing plant, and sit there waiting for someone to start leading the exercises. If you get there, and usually please do get there 10 minutes before, walk around, start getting the blood going, right? It just promotes a better health, and it will allow you to start your day much better because your body's warmed up, your stretches will go a lot better, and you will have less chance of injury. Set clear expectations and goals. Help employees be in control of their work. So if you're setting goals and expectations that are always coming from you, it'll be hard for workers to say, we cannot meet that deadline, or we cannot produce that much this week because remember, so-and-so got sick, and then we had these 2 layoffs. So I'm down. This is the crew that I have right now. This is what I'm dealing with. Realistically, this is what's going to be. So employees, managers, lead men, supervisors, they need to have those conversations to set clear expectations and goals, because employees who are also given a voice as to what is expected from them that week are much more likely to reduce their stress at work, be more positive, happier workers rather than stressed out, overwhelmed, overworked employees. Number 5 of things that you can do as an organization, and you're already making notes. And one of the big ones is offering an assistance program. Please write it down, assistance program. That's a big one. 3 clients that I have right now. Oh, I feel like kissing them. Mwah! Thank you for providing this to your workers. Promote a positive work culture, creating a culture that values collaboration, open communication. So how do you do that? That's like the lost unicorn, right? Lost unicorn. Well, if it's lost, that means it exists. I don't know. Please promote a positive work culture by doing things such as, and I'm just going to give you a tip. How would I start this? When you have a production meeting already scheduled, and that's what you do for 15 minutes. That's all you do. You set down the goals, you assign work, and you get feedback from them as to machine A, machine B, and that's all you talk about. Add 1 minute at the end of that agenda to discuss something that is completely different from production, such as, let's say you could do, okay, timelines. So how are we doing on our timelines? Did you feel that last week, after we assigned all of these tasks, that you guys had enough time to do it? No, I missed my deadline, and it was because so-and-so didn't do anything. I was left with all the work. Encourage that private conversation or that open conversation, because it does give them a space to say, hey, I need more support, right? And so it is a two-way street. Supervisor, how can I support you more? An employee, how can I give more support? So it's a two-way street. So that's how you start promoting a positive work culture, by adding to your agenda one topic where it takes them kind of off by surprise. That's what I mean. And they, oh, okay, well, let me tell you. And little by little, that will become something that maybe now takes 15 minutes, and now it's a 30-minute thing. And then I have one client, oh gosh, I love this, that and I see what they're doing as a way of mitigating stress as well, because they see their employees as a whole. They have actually started a program for improving your finances. So during one of those meetings that we do a month, the actual leader of the organization said, how many of you have seen themselves in a position where you can't pay for something, where you really did not have money, or where you had a $20 bill in your pocket and that's all you had for the rest of the month? And it's something that impacted all of us, and then he says, well, we want to help you with that, right? Because he saw that there was the need. And then, although the conversation was there during paid time, he realized this is something we can tackle and provide this to them outside of paid hours, but we will pay for the program. And that's part of an assistance program that helps workers, right? So it is just marvelous. It's a win-win situation where you will be putting those dollars, and for every dollar you put for getting that speaker, that expert to talk and help them with their finances, you get 4 in return, because now your workers are less distracted about their finances at work. It's like, oh man, I have no money for rent, or, my bills are piling up. That's all stress that they bring from home to work from home. And it's those lines that always get blurred, no matter how many times you want to repeat, leave your home life out the door. Doesn't happen. Provide opportunities for professional development, career growth, career progression. So if you feel that a lot of the workers that supervisors, lead men that are going up in position are feeling that, uh, that they're getting kind of stagnant in one position, how can you promote this desire and this need so that you get more knowledgeable people, more trained, more experts going up in your organization, in the hierarchy of your organization, to do better, to teach more, and it's really a win-win. Are you providing these opportunities? Are you paying attention to this? Because it also reduces stress to look into professional development. 7, address workplace issues promptly. Specifically, let's start with harassment and bullying. Harassment and bullying happens all the time at all levels of our organization. And once again, if you do not have a space where people can actually bring these things to the table, you are not going to know about it. So once again, the same client, they do so many things right. And this could be you. I will be talking about you right now. They don't encourage that anonymous concern suggestion box. They encourage that come talk to me policy. And if you already have a relationship with your supervisor or direct lead person, talk to them so that we can help you. Tell us about what's going on with your life. We want to know how to accommodate you. We value you as an employee, right? We give you the tools, we train you, you get good at what you do, and then we don't want to let you go. Why would we want to let you go? And if you have a concern, there's something you don't like, come talk to us. So why anonymous? And I love that they call me on that, because one of the things that I proposed in our safety and health programs is to include a way to complain anonymously or to bring concerns anonymously for an employee that may not be, so sure about saying it because of fear of retaliation. Yes, it is one of the options. But the truth is, if you have a good safety culture, if your organization is growing and booming and people value your organization, they will come talk to you. So kudos to all of you that are doing this. Here are some resources. This one is for organizations. This is the one that talks about times of the shifts that you have, and talks about, the 24-hour operations are usually divided into 3 shifts, etc. Why is this time of shift important? Because people who work in late night or early morning hours often feel sleepy and fatigued during their shift. This happens because of their body rhythm, also called the circadian rhythm. That term was coined by Mr. Franz Halbert. He's the one that says, circa is around and diem day. So it's like our organs, our internal organs. This is so fabulous, you guys. Our internal organs have a clock that says at this time you wake up. This is when I am at maximum functioning. This is when my function is declining. This is when I need to sleep and recover. That happens for lungs, by the way. Your lungs are actually at highest capacity. I think it's at noon, right? And then there's a lot of information regarding chronobiology, because even there's the right time to take medication, the right time to do certain activities. Awesome stuff to look into for those of you that are arranging shifts for your workforce. Here is the tool, and is by the Centers for Disease Control. You can see it right now. Plain language about shift work, etc. I know it's an old tool, but it's still current because, it's a hazard. How do these hazards occur? And it's because of work schedule. So it's really worth taking a look at this tool. Next. So don't forget, that one's a good one if you are right now planning different shifts. The next one, the Ultimate Workplace Mental Health Toolkit. This one came out because of COVID. So they have good information on how to deal with some of those mental issues that came as part of being isolated because of the quarantines, etc. But I don't want you to dismiss this tool. I want you to take a look at the actual surveys. There's mental health and COVID outbreak. What is mental health? This is good. So starting number 4, page 4, what's mental health? Why does it matter? The key concepts, the components of an overall approach to workplace mental health. Don't do it alone. Enlist the help of a trusted partner. There you go. Assistance programs, launching a mental health awareness campaign at your organization. And there's tools, employee survey to assess your team's knowledge and feelings about mental health. Many people, you'll be surprised by their answers. Like, no, I can work without worrying about my mental health, right? And some other people will say, yes, I believe the connection of mind and body is important. So I can work better if my mind is healthy. So it's important to get to that point where you survey your workforce to see where they're at and see what steps you need to take in order to, what's next, okay? So do I need to actually start talking about it, because no one wants to talk about it. It actually gives you a way of points to putting a positive point on those answers that are meant to say yes, and negative points on no's and I don't know. So this is a very good resource because it will allow you to have a baseline so that you know where do you want to start with your organization, right? Let me just get at the bottom of this. Let me see you. So lots of good stuff. I like how they did it. It goes through the actual term, for example, stress and toxic stress, common issues and pitfalls. And listen, effective stress management is only possible within a supportive environment with meaningful relationships. Action items. So it gives you, what's the problem? What are the action items? Create a positive, open, and supportive work environment and company culture through proactive communication, community building, value-oriented goal setting, clear and consistent feedback, and more. Educate yourself and your managers on recognizing the warning signs of toxic stress and offering support. A lot of that is also seen whenever you have incidents. So if you don't know where to start, take a look at your incident reports, and you will see a lot of good feedback if you're filling out those forms correctly. When an employee is answering that question that I always have on my forms always ask, what can we do so that this incident or injury or illness does not occur again, does not happen again? Many times you will see there, I was working short on time. I was really trying to cover for my buddy. I was called to help someone and I didn't have the training. So you really get to have good feedback right there. If you don't know where to start, those reports, looking at your history, will allow you to start jotting down your next steps. So employee burnout, it goes through a lot of these concepts that are very important, and then assessing your current culture, right? So it'll give you the actual surveys, and then it'll give you, there it is, the tools, the purpose of that tool, how to use that tool, the questions. So the surveys are already there for you to use. And then it gives you how to rate it. Think of each yes as a plus point, each no as a minus point, and a don't know as a minus as well. And then if you scored well here, your employees generally accept that mental health should not be stigmatized in your workplace, usually free of overt stigma. You can use a level of leadership and responsibility. Answer to see stigmas and attitudes regarding mental health differ between levels of your organization. And then if you scored poorly here, you should think seriously about professional development and education, starting with your leadership team and supervisor, and eventually encompassing your entire team. So you can actually take a look at speakers, experts, because many times when it comes from someone else, it's better accepted by your team. I think this is a great tool. I promise tools. This is what I'm giving you. Stress is a hazard worth recognizing. Worry and stress go so closely linked, and I really want to talk about it with you guys and bring you solutions. So this is the other source where I gave you one about shifts and how to plan better work shifts, and then the ultimate workplace mental health that has to do with tools that you can use, surveys, so that you go step by step on what to do next to improve stress at the workplace. Now, that is as organizations. As individuals, quickly, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can start doing today to improve your stress everywhere, at work, at home, but it'll spill into everything you do. Number 1, sleep. Get some sleep, please. Disciplined sleep. Oh, my English and my Spanish. At the same time every day. So if you go to bed, usually at 10, 9:30, 10, don't do Monday, you go at 10, Tuesday, you go 10:30, Wednesday, you do 12, Thursday, you do 1 p.m., 1 a.m., and Friday, you just went out and partied, so 3 a.m. It does take discipline. So in order to feel better, and your levels of cortisol, as we said, because that's what sets your fight response as well, your levels will go lower if you get more sleep. Get good sleep, disciplined sleep at the same time every day, no exceptions. Talk to your doctor about options and how to improve the quality of your sleep if you're not sleeping well. Studies show that sunlight and exercise improve the quality of your sleep. If you're not getting any sunlight, and I know some of you don't want to get sunlight, well, talk to your doctor about this, because that walk in the morning, in the nice morning sunlight, or in the afternoon, will do tremendously well for a lot of you. The second thing is exercise. Now, I want to stop here and go, oh, please, for heaven's sake, everyone knows that exercise is good for you. I don't want you to go and start going to the gym and lifting weights and, abhorring the type of exercise you do. I actually want you to do something that you enjoy doing. If that's playing swords with your kid, go do that. Stop your timer, stop your clock, and go do that. Play swords till you're dripping sweat. If what you love is walking your dog or your cat, go walk your cat and your dog. I don't do something that you love, something that makes you feel so good, and get those shoulders back and big, broad smile. All of a sudden you feel better. So exercise for health, not for strength, not for looks. Guys, don't get so bent out of shape about your six-pack. Sit-ups, by the way, exceed the actual pressure on your discs according to the NIOSH levels and stress limits that are healthy for your spine. So sit-ups, read the actual research. Dr. Stuart McGill really frowns upon sit-ups, does not like them. He does have a good technique on how to do sit-ups the right way. So if you want that six-pack, he'll give you other exercises that are better for your spine and overall spine health, such as planks, side planks, and the cat-camel exercises. Next, take breaks. Now, this is the thing. If you are in construction, take a passive break. If you are in administration, take an active break, please. See, active versus passive breaks. That's important. The next thing that you got to do to reduce your stress is be early to everything. Be early to everything. So early to bed, early for your family, early to social commitments, especially those, because you get into the habit of, no one gets early to, parties. No, you are going from now on to say early to bed, early for my family, early to dinner, early to social engagements, early for any job sites that I said I would be there at 9. I'm 10 to 9, 15 to 9. I'm there. Early to jobs or work sites, early to deliver projects. So that's important. Don't overpromise and under-deliver. Do the opposite. Under-promise and over-delivery. Your stress level will go. So buy yourself a clock or a wristwatch, because you need to take a look at the time all the time to be early and to lower your stress. Use apps to calculate time with traffic and calculate arrival time since a day early. So there's so many apps. We are in an era where technology smiles at us. So use it to your advantage. Plan to deliver early. If you fail to deliver early, ask. Listen to this. If you didn't do it, okay, forgive yourself, okay? Hopefully nobody died because you didn't deliver on time. But ask yourself, what can I do so that next time this doesn't happen again? Remember, that's the question I add to every single one of my incident reports. What can I do so that this doesn't happen again? I want your feedback, employee. And I want that from supervisors as well, because they'll have different input. If you fail to deliver early, ask, what can you do to get more support for the next project? Ask, what went wrong? Supervisor, did I not provide enough support? Employee, how can I get more support? And how can I get more support? It's also important to talk about extreme ownership. You've heard this before. Do not think that the world needs to change. She's always late. He doesn't help me. She's too demanding. They're too, much of a perfectionist. It's not about everyone else, the organization, the system, the weather, my boss, etc. It's about ourselves. How can we improve ourselves? How can we be better every minute of our waking life? It's about relationships and trust, because we start developing relationships with those at the level we are at, right? So the more you improve yourself, the more you will hang around people who love self-improvement. And then you start trusting them. And then these bonds of trust and relationships start forming. And they're your support group, and the team does better. You deliver early and you get there early. How can I do better next time? What can I change so it doesn't happen again? That's such an important question. May I get more support? May I give more support? Those are key questions. And remember, be aware that every individual is different. Identify those stressors so that you can do something about them. Show empathy so people know that you really, truly try to put yourself in their shoes, and provide access to what? To tools, to resources, to real channels of open communication. Take breaks, prioritize tasks, practice time management, clear communication, get organized, good housekeeping, anyone, learn to practice relaxation techniques, and seek support. So those are kind of like the summary for individuals, what we should do. But if you do the 3 top ones that I talked about, getting better sleep, disciplined sleep at the same time every day, that's number 1. Number 2, making sure you exercise, not for the sake of looks and having a wonderful 6-pack and a tiny waist or ginormous arms, but for the sake of getting your heart pumping and feeling joy. And number 3, if you can be early for everything, just be early for everything. Get in the habit of being early. That will immediately, those 3 things are practical. You don't need to read 1,000 books in order to start doing those. If you can work on those 3, as an individual, as an organization, you will improve your levels of stress, because it is a hazard worth mitigating. There's a link right here, Lessons in Leadership with Jocko Willink, that I have for you. And then 2 books that I want you to read cover to cover. They're fantastic. They're really good. They'll help you, your health, etc. And dismiss them if you don't like them. Take the best and leave the rest, right? And last but not least, let me see, how long do we have? Oh, it is actually time to finish our talk. But I don't want to finish unless I help you guys. Let's see, I'm going to share this and I'll let you go. It's been a pleasure talking today with you guys.
We can't hear anything.
Can you hear Lindsay?
No, we don't have, we can't hear audio. Maybe put on
Take
subtitles.
ownership.
Oh, okay, now we can hear. It went away, but maybe put subtitles on the bottom right where it says.
Take ownership.
Yeah.
Take ownership of what's going on in your world. There's so many people that want to blame the system, or they want to blame their subordinates, or they want to blame their boss when something goes wrong. They want to blame their team. They want to blame everyone else. And when you do that, you don't solve anything. Because why would I change? If I fail at something, but I don't think it's my fault, what am I going to change? I'm not going to change anything. Whereas if I take ownership of what's going on in my world, when I fail at something, I go, okay, what did I do wrong and how can I fix it? And then I set about going to fix it. And then I become better. And I might fail again and I might fail again. But you know what? Each time I'm going to figure out what I did wrong. I'm going to take ownership of those problems and mistakes that I made. I'm going to figure out what the solutions are to those problems. And then I'm going to implement those solutions. So when you go through that process on a daily basis of figuring out where your weaknesses are, what mistakes you're making, and you take ownership of those weaknesses and you take ownership of those mistakes, and then you implement solutions to those weaknesses and solutions to those mistakes, then you're going to be on the right path. And you'll look up in 2 months, in 4 months, in 6 months, you'll look up in a year and you'll be in a completely different place. And it all starts with you saying, you know what? I'm going to take ownership of what's going on in my world. When you do that, your world will change.
So I love the actual concept of extreme ownership. I'll leave it up to you to research more about Jocko Willink and his podcasts and books, etc. I am reading right now a book about the little warrior by him to my son. He is a jiu-jitsu fan, my son and my husband. And so because Jocko Willink practices jiu-jitsu, he wrote a book also about it to improve that relationship with our kids and to help them to overcome bullying and other great things. So I hope the best for you always. I'll see you next month, first Friday of the month. Always assign this link to those of you that need to improve safety and health in your organizations. And thanks again. Thanks again for your time. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Annie. Thank you to UCLA and the Southern California Research and Education Center. Thank you.